Is your ego holding you back from being with your specific person and having the most incredible, loving relationship of your life? Well, in today's video, I'm going to share with you a client success story, part one, of where when she realized that it was her ego that was holding her back from being with her specific person, she then got contact from the specific person and was able to get a date set too. So I'm so excited to share this story because our egos are so strong. Yes, that's an assumption, but in my belief, it's true. It's so strong and they are so empowering that we don't even realize that we are even acting in a particular way based on using the ego. So I'm going to share this client success story, part one, and exactly how we got to that stage of her being able to get the contact and then to be able to let go of the ego and to get a date arranged with her specific person. And all in the space of, this is 4 weeks of being coached by me. So before I go into that, for those of you that are new, I'm Natalie, and this is As the Pennies Drop. And this channel is all about creating a life you love, deserve, and desire. I am a conscious manifestation coach and a neurotransformation therapy practitioner. And I provide a variety of one-on-one and group coaching solutions to guide you all to create a life you love, deserve, and desire, to release these limiting, disempowering blocks, beliefs that you have that are holding you back from creating that life that you've desired for so long, to release any traumas, deep-rooted hurts and pains through the neurotransformation therapy program that I provide, and to get you fundamentally your manifestations. So if you would like to find out more about me or about my coaching solutions, then just click on one of the links below. Okay, so back to the story. My client is incredible. So I'm going to give you a bit of kind of background history about my client as to why she got to where she was in the first place before she started coaching with me. And then I'm going to talk to you about just very gently what we did to get her to the place to let her ego go, to let go of the ego, to get the contact from the SP, and to get a date arranged. So my client had carried with her her entire life negative stories about herself based on programs that were programmed based on thoughts and beliefs that were being programmed into her ever since she was a child. And she basically had carried that with her throughout her entire life. And these were, these beliefs that she had about her were that she, wasn't good enough, wasn't pretty enough, that, she would always get treated badly in loving relationships, that's basically what men did. And it became very hard for her to actually have any success or any kind of long-term success in loving relationships. And so when she came to me, she'd been split up from her specific person. So they dated for a year. And the first 7 months, she said, were blissful. It was great. And then the last few months was just awful. And that, she'd found out that he'd been cheating. Now, they've been split up now for over a year. And throughout that time, he has tried to get back in contact with her. And even though she wants him back, she has a fear that he will just repeat the same behaviors. Now, based on her self-concept, then she's probably right that he probably would have done, because they were her beliefs that was who she saw herself as somebody that would always get hurt by men, that basically couldn't trust men. She didn't really like herself very much. She had very disempowering thoughts about herself. So based on that, based on the Neville Goddard, everyone is you pushed out, what you think about yourself, you basically push out, and that gets attracted back at you in your outer world. And that is how people end up treating you in a particular way, whether that's good or not so good. Also as well, when we have limiting beliefs on certain areas in our life, so for example, loving relationships or men or women, you know, we will get that. If that's hardened into, if that's basically our dominant thought, that's hardened into fact, that gets pushed out vibrationally, and then that gets reflected back at us as men or women treating us not very nice, in a not very nice way. So because she had all of these stories, yes, my assumption is that if she had attracted him back before she did the coaching with me, she probably would have got the exact same version. And that's what she was really fearful for. So her kind of message to the universe, I know she's the universe, but the message she was putting out was, I want him back, but I don't want him like that. I want him back, but I don't want him to come back as he was before. I want him back, but I don't. I want him, I don't. I want him, I don't. I want, you see? I want, I don't. I want, I don't. I want, I don't. Think of the filing cabinet. I think I've done this analogy with you before. You have the universe. Let's just use an example of the universe being outside of you. So the universe hears you say, I want that person. So the universe goes to the filing cabinet, pulls your file out of the cabinet, looks right, okay, yeah, so-and-so wants to be with so-and-so. Brilliant, done. Let's get it. But then you hear the don't. Open the file, so-and-so doesn't want to be with so-and-so, puts that back. So you can see you're consistently in limbo. I want, I don't, I want, I don't. That's all that's being heard. I want, I don't, I want, I don't. So that was a story that she was basically telling herself. And, you know, quite rightly, you know, you don't want to get somebody back to be the same if they've hurt you. You want them back to be a better version. So we kind of pushed this specific person to the side a bit. And as you know, I'm an advocate for self-concept because it's really your everything. If you have a bad self-concept, all areas of your life are going to be affected. If you have a good self-concept, all areas of your life are going to be affected. Okay, so it really all starts from here. So we started to work on some, you know, just affirmations, and we worked on releasing limiting beliefs by creating new empowering beliefs. And that's basically where we started. But in each session, she would literally come back, I want him, but I don't want him like that. I want him, but I don't want him like that. But throughout the first couple of sessions we had, you could see, because she was so diligent at doing the work, because we were having, so she bought a block of 10 30-minute sessions with me. So we're doing one a week. And throughout the time she wasn't with me, she was diligently doing the work. She would message me to tell me whether she felt negative, and when she felt negative, what she'd done, and was that the right thing, and, you know, just how she was feeling. And so we've kept in touch, maybe just one message a week, but we kept in touch in between the sessions as well. So if there was anything, I could get her back on the right path. But she was doing a grand job. She really was. She was, you know, being able to look in the mirror, being able to say some really amazing positive affirmations about herself, positive statements about herself, you know, about she was pretty enough. And, you know, she was perfect enough just as she was to be loved and accepted in a loving relationship. And she was worthy of being valued and respected in a loving relationship. She was deserving of a loving, healthy, committed, loyal, trustworthy relationship. You know, and we released the limiting beliefs about, this was obviously with not obviously, but, you know, in this instance, it was that she was attracting, her SP is a male. So, you know, we were looking at kind of telling the new story about him too. So the more she did work on herself, the easier it was for her to see him in a different light. she was able to focus her attention on the version of the person that she wanted to see, as opposed to the version of the person that she'd had before. So we started to tell the new story that, you know, he was 100% committed to her. And, you know, because they were apart, it's like, you know, he misses her like crazy. He can't stop thinking about her. She's the only woman he's ever truly loved. She's the only woman he's ever truly wanted to be with. So we started to tell these different stories. And we also focused on, you know, natural visualization. So the imaginal acts, so living in the end. And she has a beautiful living in the end that she uses to visualize them being together. So she would take herself for a walk and she would focus on her affirmations, or she would literally, she would be looping them throughout the day anyway. She'd focus on her affirmations. She would focus on hearing him in her mind as the version of the person that she wanted him to be. And she would do these visuals of them together. Now, one day last week, she did a visual of them, and literally, I think it was within maybe an hour or so, he contacted her. Now, he had been in contact a couple of times over the past year, but because she had been saying, I want him, but I don't want him like that, nothing ever, well, she didn't pursue it. So now she was feeling more confident in herself, and she was doing the work. She was building her self-confidence. She knows that she's lovable just as she is. She doesn't have to be perfect to be loved. She's perfect enough to be loved just as she is. She started to become more relaxed. Everything started to feel easier. She started to feel a shift in herself, a change in how she saw herself, how she felt about everything. Actually, she started to get closer relationship with her father again as well. Like I said, when we change what's going on in here, it will impact the outer world. In a variety of different ways, not just in the specific area that you're focusing on. So she started to build more relationships, a better relationship with her father as well in this short space of time. So she'd done the visual and she basically got home, and within about an hour or so, the SP contacts her and says, I'd really like to see you. Now there is a third party involved at the moment. But I told her as well that this is your reality. And if you focus on the third party, then the third party is in the reality. If you just focus on the story of the life that you're looking to have and you desire that, then the third party doesn't exist. You know, you don't have to even think about the third party at all, even being, you know, there. There's just, you don't focus on it. You just focus on the outcome that you're looking for. That was all I would tell her to do. Just let that go. Yes, there will be fears and anxieties about that, but I said, just let it go. Let it go and just focus on the visuals, the story about him only wanting you. So she was doing that. So he contacts her and says about meeting up, and she didn't want to meet up on that particular day because she had something on. And the next day, she said the next day I could meet the next day, and he didn't get back in contact with her. And so when we had our follow-up session, I said, well, you sent him a message and he didn't follow up, and he didn't follow back up with you. Why do you think that is? She was like, well, I don't know, but all I know is that I'm going to be pursued. I'm going to be pursued. He will pursue me. If he wants to see me, he has to pursue me. I was like, okay, so let's look at this differently. If that was your friend that had messaged you about meeting up and you'd responded and you hadn't heard back, what would you do? She was like, well, obviously I would message them back. This is no different. And this, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the ego. Not only had her ego kept telling the story of, you can't be with him unless he pursues you. You can't be with him unless, you know, he's 100% perfect. She couldn't see it. she couldn't see that the ego was holding her back from being with the person that she wants to be with. So when I said that to her about the friend, she was like, oh, well, yeah. And then she said, yeah, but I need to be pursued. I said, so tell me how he's not pursuing you. He sent you a few messages throughout the past year and you kind of ignored them or not done anything with them or said no to meeting up, which is, you know, but how is he not pursuing you? And then penny drop moment. And she did have a few tears because she realized that, unfortunately, that she'd allowed the ego to hold her back from being with the person that she's so in love with. So nothing came of that. Nothing came of that. She just left it. And what we did was we focused on, I gave her a choice that you can either reach out and just say, look, I never heard back from you. I don't know whether you still want to meet up, you know, it would be great to see you, or we can just keep affirming that he's going to contact again. So she went down that route. But also as well, if you think about it, you know, these other people, they might be in our reality, but they're still humans. Whether they've done anything right or wrong, they're still human beings. And he'd reached out a few times over the year. And I said, how do you know that he even thinks that you're even interested? Now, yes, I know everyone has pushed out assumptions, affirmations, stories, but how do you know he even thinks that you're interested? Maybe he didn't get the message. Maybe he decided, what's the point? She's clearly not interested. Who knows? But I think that was a more healthier assumption to have than I've got to be pursued, I've got to be pursued, I've got to be pursued. She was being pursued, but the ego had blocked her from being able to see that she was being pursued. So we had a session just a few days ago, and we discussed letting go of the ego, because when we are working from the ego, it generally doesn't feel great. It's blocking us from getting what it is that we want. And it's kind of having that kind of stubborn feel to it of, well, this has to happen, or I'm not going to do that. You know, it's very restrictive as well. So yeah, we had a session just a few days ago, and so she chose to go down the road of, I'm just going to do the affirmations and keep telling the story that he'll be back in contact. And he got back in contact. Now she had the awareness about the ego. He said, you know, I would really like to see you. Instead of just messaging back, this time she picked up the phone. And they had a lovely conversation. And guess what he'd said? He'd said, I didn't think you were that interested. I didn't think you were bothered. I didn't think you were really bothered about meeting up with me, because I've asked you so many times. I just didn't think you were bothered anymore. Now, I also think that if you think about the mindset, it was very hot and cold. I want, I don't, I want, I don't. That's obviously getting pushed out. So he was contacting and pulling back, contacting and pulling back. But she also felt like, you know, what if she's not enough? He then had the story of, I didn't think you were bothered. So you see how they kind of all align with everyone as you pushed out. We do literally get back what we're pushing out to the world through our thoughts, behaviors, feelings, and beliefs. So anyway, they had the conversation. She was like, no, of course I still really care about you, and it would be lovely to see you. And they're going to see each other at the weekend. So just how simple is it when we can step back from the ego, that negative mindset that is designed to keep us safe, but does nothing other than try to control us from having the life that we really want. It's like people in the outside world telling you what you can and can't do. No, you can't call that person. Think of it that way, actually. Think of it that way. Imagine your ego as people in the outside world saying, no, you can't do that. You won't enjoy that, but that's not going to be good for you. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. No, you better not do that because they'll just laugh at you. You better not do that because they'll shout at you. You better not do this because, you better not do that because, you better not do this because. Yeah, so you better not, you know, respond again to your specific person, even though they've been pursuing you on and off throughout the past year. You better not do that because what? Because you need to be pursued. And that's the only way you're going to be able to see your worth, when somebody pursues you. I mean, that's what was going on in her head. And it's so sad because for the past year, she's really wanted to be with him. Now, yes, there is an element of her self-worth not being where it needed to be, for her to feel safe that it wasn't going to happen again. But with her doing all of this as well, I nearly forgot to share this. Now I know her self-concept is where it needs to be. She's going to continually do the work. She's got loads of birds before land. She's had about 3 or 4 different guys messaging her, like old flames or people that she just knows, messaging her saying that, you know, they love her and they think she's the most amazing, incredible person in the entire world, and they want to go on dates with her and they want to be with her, you know. And that didn't happen again before we started doing the work on the self-concept and telling the story of the version of the person that she wanted to be through affirmations and living in the end moments. It's so powerful when you just focus your mind on what it is you want. And yes, there was a couple of little wobbles here and there, but that's okay. That's normal. That's natural to have that. But she kept going. She kept pushing forwards, and she would just message me once a week just to let me know what her updates were. And if there was anything I needed to help her with, I would help her. So yeah. Incredible. So this is part 1. So I've called this part 1 because we're just at that first stage, and part 2 will be when it's 100% committed. So there we go. I will share that part 2 with you when we get there. So if you are struggling with your ego and you're allowing your ego to hold you back, and you'll know if you are, because you won't be living the life that you want. Simple. Are you living the life that you want? No. Which area you live in the least? Which area do you want the most will be the one you'll probably live in the least. So we need to stop the ego as much as we can and focus on moving forwards, moving through that. If you are struggling with that, then just get in touch. I offer 30-minute sessions, block 30-minute sessions, 1-hour sessions, block 1-hour sessions. I've also got my 6-week breakthrough program if you've got really deep-rooted traumas and negative limiting beliefs about yourself that we can go through as well. Or I have the email coaching, so you can get in touch either way, and I'll be more than happy to help you. So that's it from me. Take care, guys. Oh, don't forget to like, share and comment and subscribe, and take care, and I'll see you soon.